In an effort to make the city of Cleveland a safer place to work, visit, and play, a curfew has been established for children and young adults. For children 12 and younger, the curfew begins at dusk and expires at dawn. For 13 and 14-year-olds, the curfew begins at 9:30 p.m. 15 and 16-year-olds at 11 p.m. and 17-year-olds have a curfew starting at midnight. All of these curfews expire at 6 a.m. the following morning. Keep Cleveland safe by following these curfews in your neighborhood.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Cox. I'm the Director of Parks, Recreation Properties, also Public Works. I welcome you to Forest Hills Park, one of our many beautiful neighborhood parks in this area. The mayor had an initiative of $5 million in our capital plan every year to do our park, recreation, and playgrounds. This is one of the parks that we did. It's an ongoing capital campaign to upgrade our amenities in our parks. In this park, which is again Forest Hills, it's about 12,000 square foot of green space. We renovated 2 full court basketball courts with seal coating and color coating and striping for the surface. We installed 2 half basketball courts, adding 4 new basketball backboards and rims. We added 1 tennis court with nets and posts. Again, this is part of the, again, as the mayor always says, thank you for issue 32. This is part of that campaign that gave us the ability to upgrade our parks and playgrounds. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Mayor Jackson.
Thank you. Well, it is, afternoon. Good afternoon. As Director Cox said, this is an ongoing investment. We have put $5 million each year towards maintenance. That does not count the money that we put for when we completely renovate parks and playgrounds. Earlier this month, we usually coordinate this Safe Summer event every year with opening of the pools. That was earlier this month, and it rained. And so we canceled that, but we're doing the Safe Summer. The pool's already open. But as you can see, we invest millions of dollars in our recreational facilities and our parks and our playground, and really in programming so that kids can have a safe summer. I have today with us our Chief of Prevention, Intervention, and Opportunity for Youth and Young Adults. Every rec center staff person, manager, and employee is being trained in crisis intervention, trauma. We're hiring 11 licensed professionals to work in our rec centers to help identify young people with trauma or crisis and help them through that. So we're doing all those things. And added to that, each year we talk about the enforcement side or the safety side, the security side. And I'll introduce Chief Williams, who will give you the details of how we will be securing our parks, our playgrounds, our rec centers, our pools, and also other things that he and his members and our partners in law enforcement will be doing. Okay? Chief?
Thanks, Mayor. Good afternoon. As the mayor stated, usually we kick this off with the opening of the pools for the summer, but weather kind of prevented that a couple weeks ago, so we're hoping to get this in before it rains. But we also, Division of Police institutes our Safe Summers program, which means there are officers dedicated to all the parks, pools, and rec centers throughout the city of Cleveland. And that program started years ago, but about 3 years ago, we actually took a look at some of the incidents that happened in and around our rec centers, and we determined that there were about 8 or 9 rec centers that had high incidents of crime, and we dedicated officers from each district to those rec centers and basically cut that crime to almost zero over the past 3 years around those 10 rec centers here in the city of Cleveland, both east side and west side. So we'll continue to do that in addition to the officers that are assigned that are employed basically by Director Cox and his folks in a part-time capacity. off-duty officers as well as on-duty officers that patrol the parks, schools, and rec centers all summer. And we do this because of, where's Mr. Moore, Elijah? Did he leave me? He went back to the pool. I told Elijah Moore I'd give a shout out to him because he was out here swimming today and he had to get out because it got a little cold. But we do this for kids like Elijah and the kids that you see over here to make sure that they can have a safe, enjoyable place to play during the summer, because that's what summer is all about. And as the mayor and director stated earlier, the city has put millions of dollars into facilities for our kids to be able to enjoy the summer at our parks, pools, and our recreation centers. So I don't want people to lose that fact. You know, the city has great facilities. You know, we have water parks that rival some of our suburban partners out there, and people just don't know about it. But if you travel around the city, if you visit different parts of the city, you'll see those things. And people should come out and enjoy it, and that's why we're here, to make sure that it's safe for our kids. And just to segue to a lot more serious tone here, you know, we've been in the midst of the investigation of the homicide for Shania Nicholson. I just want to give you a quick update. To date, we've had 3 arrests, 2 juveniles and 1 adult arrested in that. And you see some of our partners here behind us. Assistant Special Agent in Charge for the FBI, Al Winston's behind us here. Also, Brian Fitzgibbons from the U.S. Marshal Service, one of our great partners in going out there and tackling violent crime when stuff happens in the city. They've been instrumental in getting the information, assisting in the investigations, and then also going out there and arresting these individuals responsible for these crimes. And again, we have 3 arrests so far. We are actively seeking arrest warrants for other individuals involved in this crime, as well as the other crimes that have happened here in the city. As you know, we had a homicide last night on the east side, so we're still asking the public's help in identifying suspects or witnesses or any information on these recent homicides, as well as some of our prior homicides and violent cases here in the city. So give us a call, give our homicide unit a call. If it's a homicide, 623-5464, or our police radio communications, 621-1234. But again, we're happy to report that we have those 3 arrests, but we're not done with this. And, you know, as we stand here and talk about this, our law enforcement partners, members of the Division of Police, our homicide unit, have been working diligently to solve these cases, so we appreciate that. With that said, I'll bring the mayor back up for some questions and answers. Thank you.
Any questions? Let's first start with the Safe Summer side, and then we'll go to the other side. So if you have questions on the Safe Summer, if not, then if there are questions on the other thing, I think you can individually talk to the chief, myself, or whoever else you want to talk to. Okay? All right, thank you very much. Yes?
About a year ago, Mayor, there was the Youth Violence Prevention Program.
Yes.
Parks, and it's supposed to be a key part of that. Is that
Yes.
That's continuing? Or
Well, again, the $5 million that we are putting into, and as Director Cox says, when people voted for issue 32, it really gave us extra money so we can enhance things. So we put $5 million every year now into park maintenance. So we do the upgrade. That's on the capital and the physical side. We're investing in the intervention, prevention, and opportunities for youth and young adults. And that's more around programming. And it's everything from chess classes to crisis intervention, to hiring, not us, but we have a agency we contract with that will have 11 licensed professionals who will be embedded in our rec centers that will be able to help identify young people in crisis, young people who are experiencing trauma, and then we partner with Peacemakers Alliance to kind of, I think what they call the interrupters? Violence interrupters, to kind of help tap down potential things that actually led to the tragedy with the 9-year-old child. So we're working on those kind of things. All that's part of our Safe Summer and also part of our fight against crime, not only in terms of law enforcement, but also in terms of prevention and intervention.
What are you saying to the Clevelanders who still may be a little leery of sending their kids to recreation centers in light of all the...
Well, I hear that even before you raised that question now because of what happened. Well, that did not happen at a rec center. And so you hear those kind of questions about this park even. You hear that question about sending your child to a store. So part of what we're talking about is how do you create a safe community? And the only way that you can have a completely safe community is to have full community participation. And that full community participation is what makes that community safe. I was talking earlier about 3 years ago when there was a rash of innocent lives lost. One was an infant, I think another was about 3 or 4 year old, and another was a juvenile. All were innocent bystanders. And at that time, the same as what happened then happens now. That there's a certain point that the community says that they won't tolerate. And as a result of that, we've been able to be successful in a very short period of time in bringing forward 3 people who've been arrested in the most recent loss of an innocent life. But back then, we resolved those 3 incidences based on the community coming forward. All this is community effort. There's no one agency up here or political leader or even a news outlet that can resolve this problem. It's a community effort. Without community input and community effort, there is no resolution to this problem.
Mayor, I screwed up.
Oh, here he is.
I'm sorry, I screwed up the name earlier. It's Isaiah Moore, and Isaiah's up here today swimming, and I told him I'd give him a shout out so his mom would know that he's out here doing something constructive. He's actually learning how to swim, as a lot of us did. I swam at this pool when I was a kid. You want to say something?
No, thank you.
Do you like the pool? Do you like the pool?
Yeah.
How's the swimming going?
It's going good. They taught me how to swim very good, and it's a good learning environment.
Oh, good.
They taught me how to swim, and it's a good learning environment.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, all of us are available for any questions.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
This is 2017 Glenville Championship golf team right here. Let's go. Nobody beat the Mighty Top Blooders. Nobody beat the Mighty Top Blooders. So playing golf, this is great, Mr. Mayor.
See, and again, that's programming. That's programming. And there's a lot of things that are going on. You know, the chief mentioned, the chief mentioned that we have recreational facilities and programming that rival other communities. And I will tell you that other communities come to Cleveland to visit our rec centers in our programming, whether they're the water features or other things. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the city of Cleveland, and a lot of investments made in young people. Okay? All right, thank you. Thank you.